Good morning. This is Catherine Clement in Boulder, Colorado, and this is the Saturday morning Mastermind. Faces are looking a little bit different today. A lot of our panelists are busy or not feeling well or have crying babies. A lot, life happens, and so there's three of us here this morning, and we'll see if some other people pop in. If not, that's okay. We're going to cover the 64th verse of the Tao Te Ching today. And I don't have the book to show you because I read on a Kindle, but we're reading out of Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life by Dr. Wayne Dyer and or the late Dr. Wayne Dyer, I should say. And he what he did was the Tao Te Ching. If you don't know what that is, it's an ancient spiritual text that was written long before BC. I forget what the actual years were, but it was BC. So long ago. And just like the Bible and other spiritual texts, the Tao Te Ching has been interpreted in multiple ways by multiple people. And so what Dr. Dyer did was he took all those multiple ways and read through them and then kind of, interpreted in his own way. And that book became Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. And also he did I believe it was on PBS. He did like a PBS special thing. And the recording of that is actually on our Mindset Mastery Collective Facebook page, which is new. So some of you might not know about that, but if you're on Facebook, we have the Mindset Mastery Collective is the name of the page, the Facebook page. And if you go there, you can find that recording because I put it over there. You can also find it over on YouTube though. Saying my internet connection is unstable. So hopefully I'm not sounding like a computer at this point. I will see if I can speed it up here by doing something. Hopefully that works. Okay, so I'm going to read or Karen or Marjorie, would either of you like to read the 64th verse to get us started? First, I'd like for you to introduce yourselves, of course. And then if one of you would like to read the verse, that's good, or if not, I can do that. So unmute yourself, come on out and say hi.
Good morning, I'm Karen. I'll be glad to read the verse. We'll let Marjorie introduce herself first.
Perfect.
Sorry, why does it take so long to unmute yourself? I'm Marjorie. I'm glad that you want to read that for us, Karen, because I basically just woke up. So anyway, this is only my second opportunity to join in to this Saturday Zoom. So anyway, glad to be here. Thank you.
We're glad you're here, Marjorie. And it's perfect. Karen's going to read it. And I'll unmute you, Karen. Oh, there you go. You got it.
We are so glad you're here, Marjorie. It's just always good to be growing. Okay, Tao Te Ching, verse 64. What is at rest is easily managed. What is not yet manifest is easy to prevent. The brittle is easily shattered. The small is easily scattered. Act before things exist. Manage them before there is disorder. Remember, a tree that fills a man's embrace grows from a seedling. A tower 9 stories high starts with 1 brick. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Act and destroy it. Grasp it and lose it. The sage does not act, and so is not defeated. He does not grasp, and therefore does not lose. People usually fail when they are on the verge of success. So give as much care at the end as at the beginning. Then there will be no failure. The sage does not treasure what is difficult to attain. He does not collect precious things. He learns not to hold on to ideas. He helps the 10,000, I guess he doesn't take notes. Sorry. He helps the 10,000 things find their own nature, but does not venture to lead them by the nose.
Awesome. Thank you for reading that. And it was a fairly lengthy verse. It's interesting how some of them are relatively short, and then I thought that was a fairly lengthy one. So normally here what we do is we just share, what came to mind for you as you read that, or if you're just hearing it for the first time, usually there's a line in each verse, or maybe several lines in each verse that kind of pop out to each one of us, and it's normally different ones, which makes it kind of cool to be able to discuss. So if something popped out at you guys, let's share that.
I did take a look at this last night because I find that there's lots of times that trying to grasp what he might possibly mean in some of these verses is a little bit difficult for me. And I want to see if there's anything I can feel like I can relate to at the beginning. And just right away, I started thinking, I'm really focused on, and I'm hesitant to even admit this on what I call national TV. Chris isn't here, so I'll call it national TV. Knowing this is going on in perpetuity, and that somebody probably after my death is going to, whang their head around and say, what's she talking about? But I've been really wanting to become what I would consider a real manifester. Someone who can decide, I want to create this in my life, and just do it. Even if it takes 12 steps or 6 days or whatever it is, just to be able to do it. I look back at my life. Of course, we all manifest all the time. And I look at things that I even intentionally manifested long before that term was ever used by anyone, and long before there was an internet for anybody to use it on the internet. And I don't even know really how that happened. One thing that's kind of funny, since there aren't any men on here, I can pretend that no man will ever listen to this, which of course is being totally in denial. But when I was in junior high and high school, I became impatient about, feeling good about my figure. And I invested in a lot of 17 magazines, and I actually had pictures of models totally pasted all over my wall. And, the whole idea was that everybody was kind of like 34, 24, 34. 24 is kind of like Scarlett O'Hara's 17-inch waist. I mean, just practically impossible. And so I wasn't working on the waist. I was working on my the upper body. And in high school, we were actually in the junior high, because I guess the high school was being constructed, or I don't remember even now what that was about, but we had lockers, and they were metal lockers. And the girls would go down the halls, and they would, lift up their arm and jab one another with their elbow in their boobs, and it was, it was just one of those dumb things that kids do. It's like boys farting all the time, thinking that that's really funny. I mean, I know that was strange, and possibly we were the only high school in the union that ever did that. But I remember the thing that we used to sing in PE. We didn't sing this in PE. We sang this out of PE, and it was, I must increase my bust. And so I was really working on that, and I felt really good about my proportions in time. And I, now looking back 40, 50 years, I think, you know, I manifested that, and I'm sure I did because I was already reading Psycho-Cybernetics. Maxwell Maltz had put it out maybe 10 years before then or so, and I thought I would apply it rather than to my face, you know, to a body part. And so when he says, second line, what is not yet manifest is easy to prevent, I think about, you know, I must be preventing all kinds of things really easily. And I'm sure I did learn that. I think most of us learn how to put the brakes on in our lives and how to keep good things from coming to us, you know, for whatever reason. So that was kind of a lengthy story to tell about one of the things that stuck out for me. And I know there's something else down below that goes along with that, but I can't see it right now. So I will hop off and go scrub my red face and see if I can look normal.
You cracked me up. You manifested boobs. I've never thought about manifesting boobs. I've never wanted bigger boobs, though, because I hate bras, and so I really love that I can go without a bra. I don't care if this is on national TV. Yes, I understand what I just said. But does anybody else have any thoughts? What stuck out to you, Marjorie? Are you awake enough to talk yet?
Yes. Okay, wait. Oh, thank you. I just hit that tap to speak thing on my cell phone here. Yes, I had a chance to look at it last night. Actually prepared myself to be on here with an alarm clock too. But anyway, yes, it was lengthy, and it was, as I read each line, I had to really reread it again. And my thought was that each line really was quite provoking, meaning I was really looking at each line, thinking about what it said, and basically kind of came away with the thought that, you know, life is really easy and simple, that there are natural laws of the universe. And my overall feeling from reading this was that that's what we really should be working with. Many of the lines seem to be saying that we're working too hard, that we're grasping, we're pushing, we're pulling, we're forcing, we're not being at ease. So my overall feeling was just, you know, be in peace, you know, live life with ease, with grace, you know, working with God, with grace, with the universe, with the divine, and everything will be fine. Not to be overthinking everything, and basically, I guess, know what it is that you wish for, because that's really the most important thing. And I think as I was reading it yesterday and the second time, I think the word came up for me that is something I had seen recently in someone that I follow who's a spiritual teacher, and the word was being vigilant, that we just need to be vigilant about our thoughts and what it is that we wish to manifest. And that's not being vigilant as in like, I'm going to make this happen and I'm going to go out there with you know, all these like tools, you know, or I'm not going to like be manufacturing it in a sort of industrial way. This is being vigilant in a very spiritual way of monitoring your feelings, your thoughts, and your visions and your pictures in your mind, and your words. You know, using the power that's really in you, being vigilant in that way, knowing that you're powerful, and working with that, your inner power, and making everything happen internally, and then it comes out outwardly in your life. So that was pretty much what I got. I mean, it was really intriguing because I know of the source. I'm not even confident enough to even try to pronounce it, even though my family came from China. But I think one of the people that I just got introduced to through just a sort of an interview. His name is Brent Phillips. I believe that's his name. And he had quite a story to tell about his life and his path that he took. And he had referenced the ancient classics like this one, and how for us in today's world it's difficult to really, in a sense, really know what it is that it's trying to say, or what the master was trying to teach us. And because somewhere along the line it's been a little lost, which is why this is wonderful. You know, we're actually trying to study and discuss and analyze that. If the master was alive now, that these classics would be so much more vibrant. We'd be listening to the living teacher, you know. And so as I was reading each line, I was thinking, what is this? What is it trying to teach us? It's making me go through all these like a funny puzzle, you know. That anyway, that's pretty much what I was thinking about, was that the master is not here to tell us clearly what he's saying. It's great that we have the book that was aimed at teaching the modern audience to pay attention to this classic, and we have the chance today to discuss this particular verse. So thank you.
Thank you. That's cool that you prepared for the class. Many of us, I hate to say it, often like I'm reading it maybe 5 minutes before we come on the thing. So I don't have that much time to think about it really. And I rarely get the opportunity to read what Dr. Dyer actually said, because in the book it has the verse and then it has like what he thinks about the verse. I do go back and catch up, you know, but I feel like I'm always kind of 2 steps behind right now. But thank you for sharing your thoughts on that. And it's funny that you say, you know, each line is provoking, because when we first started this book, we were all thinking, how are we going to talk for an hour on, you know, this one little verse? Like we were thinking we're going to have to do, okay, we're going to do 4 verses each week or something, you know. But you could talk for an hour on each line. So Sandy, do you have any thoughts on the verse this morning? Have you had a chance to look at it yet?
Well, yeah, I was laughing when you said I'm just reading it now, but yeah, I didn't think I'd have time to hop on, except to run out in a bit. But it's like so perfect. When I opened it, I'm like, I have to hop on because it's making complete sense for what I'm going through right now. And then I'm laughing at one of the last sentences here. Don't drink caffeine just for today. I'm like, that's not happening. I still need to get my caffeine in me, so I'm not fully awake yet. But yeah, when I was reading here, I didn't even realize it was the 3 steps to enlightenment. But as I was reading bullet number 1, the first is through suffering. Number 2, the second is by being in the present moment. 3, the third is by getting out in front of the big problems. I'm going through a recent breakup, so this made so much sense to me because it's been some super intense suffering that I don't think I've ever felt such deep despair in my life and my emotions so deeply. And I was in some of you may have seen that I was in a 90-day sadhana for Kundalini. So I was getting up at 3 a.m. every morning, and I was really processing all of this through that, and going through the suffering like I've never felt in my life. And but then through the Kundalini and through just things coming to me in my life, I started practicing mindfulness meditation, really learning how to be in the present moment, and just watching my emotions and loving them and loving myself. And, you know, I was going through a lot of regret, seeing things that, you know, I felt like I did wrong. And I was like so beating myself up for a while and just going through everything, anger and sadness. And so deep that it's crazy how you think you're at a certain stage in your life, and then something comes to just tear you completely open, and something that I totally didn't expect either. It was such a shock. So the suffering, but then the second step, really learning, realizing how much I've learned from it. I'm so grateful now. When I look back, I'm like, if this didn't happen, I wouldn't have gotten to this place where I'm really loving myself even more. Like we think sometimes, okay, I have self-love, and then something comes to say, well, obviously you don't. You need some more work on the self-love, and then you're like, okay. And like having to surrender again and again and again, and really get to this core of like, who am I? And it's what a process. But and like he says here, what do I have to learn from this experience right now? I know there's a gift hidden for me in this misfortune, and I'll focus on looking for it. And so really through all of that, seeing this huge gift, because there's always, in the bad, there's always something good coming out of it. There's like a silver lining in every cloud. And so through all, towards the, I would look for that and be like, yeah, whatever, there's not here. but in the end, looking at it, I've received so many gifts from it. And, I still somehow think we'll get back together. And there was this time that we needed for us to individually grow, because there really is this connection beyond and between us. And so it was like holding on to this idea too, of like, okay, we're trying to get back together anyway, and just go through the processes. But now it's like, also we've talked about expectations. So I'm at the point of like, I can't hold on to any ideas or expectations I had. And that's part of what happened in the relationship, was holding on to expectations that, that weren't coming into the present moment. And it really gave me a kick in the ass. Like, you really can't ever have expectations, which we've talked about in many of the other masterminds. And then the third, he says, is by getting out in front of big problems, which I'm still trying to wrap around my head here. This means that you act before difficulties occur, sense disorder coming your way, and manage it in advance. So, yeah. Still simmering with that one. And then when I first opened this chapter, I saw, it says, become a master anticipator in bold there. So, this also, all of this reminded me that, exactly about a year ago is when I was so in the zone of manifesting my dreams, and they were just coming, like I was so like living as if they were already there. I was so there, like, the man's here, and my car's here, and my new apartment's here, and, living it like completely. And it was like all year my friends were amazed. They're like, wow, you really are a good manifester. So through all of this, I'm back in that space a year later, like, okay, I could manifest all this again. And now I've learned so much that I'm going to manifest something even greater. If it's not him coming back, it's going to be even better. And, I still have my new apartment, and my amazing new car. So it was just like the universe was like, oh, you want more self-love? Oh, you want more of all these things you're asking for? Well, you're going to need a big kick in the ass for a minute, and then we'll get you to the next step. So it's interesting too. I've learned, when you ask for something, if you really want that, you might get a kick in the ass first if you need to step up to receive it. We think, okay, yeah, it's going to be this and this, and it's going to be good, but it never shows up how we think it's going to show up. And it can be by getting a big kick in the ass to be like, well, you're going to need to step it up a little bit first before you get what you really want. So a lot of lessons these past couple months, and so grateful and happy to have had a moment to hop on here. Sorry I babbled so much.
No, I'm so glad that you came on and that the verse spoke to you. I mean, it does every week to each of us. That's the other amazing thing, is that it always seems to speak to what's going on in our lives. And grief is something that that's a huge lesson to go through. It's not something that I had ever experienced in my, and I'm, this is going to sound probably horrible, but I'm just going to say it. I had not, because I was a nurse for 20 years. So it's not that I didn't have empathy with those situations. I did. But as far as really heart busting, breaking, tearing open grief, I never felt that in my life until about 3 years ago now, when my German Shepherd dog died. And that, some people won't understand that. How can you not have grieved for all these people, but you grieve? But see, the thing about it is, when your heart breaks open like that, it's never about one thing. It's about all those cumulative things that you didn't grieve about, you didn't let yourself grieve about before. Everything in your freaking life you grieve about at one time, and it's just like, oh my God, I'm gonna die right here. You know, and it's wow. And you think, you know, that it's that one thing for a minute, and then the depth of it is so deep that you realize, oh no, that can't be. This is, you know, this is too deep. This is too painful. And it's a whole lifetime of processing. So bless you, honey, because I know it's
Thank you.
something.
Yeah, it's interesting because a friend who just got out of hypnosis school in New York, he sent an email last week and he's like, oh, I'm offering sessions to my friends and family. So I did it. I'm like, help me with this relationship and stuff. And it went back to my childhood when I was 4 years old. And I'm like, you know, it's really about, because it's the same. I never grieved in my life. I've never had, you know, someone very close to me pass away. I don't know how. I'm always like amazed, like, you know, how do I not have someone in my life that I've never lost, really? I mean, my grandmothers and stuff, but I didn't know them that well, and I was young. So yeah, it's like, it's really grieving for everything in my life, and it's wow, yeah. But yeah, I'm grateful that as painful as it is, I'm grateful for it, to have had that process. I mean, it's like so human, and it's so raw and deep and hard, and it's painful, and you want to like kill yourself, but at the same time you come out of it like a diamond. You come out the opposite side like, well, thank God I didn't kill myself, look at me now, you know. So it's such a gift. It's really a gift. So anybody who is grieving or going through those dark nights, trust you'll get through, and you come out so much better. You learn so much, and it's worth it. It's so worth it. It's so hard, but it's so worth it.
Yeah. That's what we come here for, you guys. Believe it or not, we sign up for this shit.
And that's what I had to keep reminding myself. I'm like, you know, you're going to come out. You know, you get through everything. Like, you just have to talk yourself through it. Like, you know, you're going to get through it. And I'm so grateful for the angels in my life. So many amazing friends. And, you know, if you search for things to help you, you'll find them. You know, even if I went to a concert, like a mantra singing concert one night, and I'm sitting there just crying, and my friends are like, you okay? I'm like, just leave me alone. I mean, do what you have to do and just let it out. I mean, if it's in public and you break down, fine. You know, it's you actually attract people to you because they know they go through it too, and so they're there for you. So reach out, you know, too, if you're going through stuff. Try not to be in your little hole, which is so easy to do, but go out and express and let it out.
Absolutely. It's so important to, because you also feel like the most alone that you've ever felt at that time. And you just, yeah, it's a time when if you can reach out, not everybody can, you know, but still, like you said, you can get through it. And it's funny, I went to a mantra concert, and I wasn't grieving when I went or anything, but I did cry through the whole thing because it was just such, those mantras are just such, they just let you let it all out, whatever it is. It's a great way, I think, to release a lot of things, you know, in a space where it's just completely transmuted. Because I think sometimes we worry, some of us that are conscious of our thoughts, like you were talking about earlier, Karen, and stuff, those of us that work with energy and are consciously controlling our energy much of the time, I think sometimes we worry about letting go of things, like we don't want to put that out into the vibration or whatever, you know. We get these little hang-ups, but it's so beautifully transmuted. Never worry about releasing stuff or allowing yourself to feel, because just like Sandy said, you will get, and I'm number one, I can attest to this, that, you know, you will get kicked in the butt hard enough until you get to that point where you surrender. I don't know, like, who decided that was the game, but that's the game. I can tell you. So, you know, don't hold it in. It can ruin your body. I can attest to that. This stuff gets trapped in your cells, literally, you know, and you have to like do body work. And for me, I can't afford body work. So I kind of developed my own thing of, you know, I put music on that has a really good drum, and I percuss my body all over to move the energy and to release the blockages and to send healing in. And, you know, I'm doing it with music so that I can get in that zone and, you know, get that vibration going. And so find a way to cope with what you're going through. But Sandy, I was just expressing yesterday on a call, actually, how I am so glad I didn't kill myself back when I wanted to. And I mean, I was at 5 years of just pure hellacious, constant, ungodly, torturous pain. And I had begged God, you know, every minute to take me. And obviously it wasn't meant to be. And I was going to force the issue. I really was. And then thank God, you know, I met a surgeon was sent to me, you know, and I'm so thankful now. And as you can see, even though I'm a little bit sliding, as you can see, I'm actually sitting, you guys. I found this cushion where I can actually sit now. And that's an amazing thing. But if you don't process this stuff, you know, first of all, we shouldn't have gone through our whole lives without grieving, Sandy. You know, I mean, you just shouldn't hold stuff in like your whole life, because it has to come out at some point. And it may come out in like one big thing like that. And it'll take you to places you just never imagined, you know, and we're human, and that's part of being human. And like you said, then we start beating ourselves up about, oh, well, I thought you were more spiritually advanced than this, you know. You know, or you're like having thoughts, but then you're like catching your thoughts, because you know it's not good to like send thoughts like that. So then you're having like this whole thing in your head, and you should know better than that. And oh my God, I've been there, girl. I know.
So funny. No, it's true. Like, I'm like, but I have to be thinking positively. You have to get out of this, and like forcing yourself out of it. Then you're like, you know what? Go through it. Just go through it. That's part of being spiritual, is going through the freaking shit. Really, that's spiritual. Like, go through the depths of the hell, you know. God. And it's true. If you're going through something, like you said, you need to do body work, or, you know, that's great that you beat on yourself. And, you know, I've been going to massages, getting acupuncture, whatever, to help me just move the emotions through. And something a friend reminded me this week is EFT tapping. You can go on YouTube and search anything like EFT breakup. I was putting in EFT sadness, EFT anger, EFT, and they're free videos. And, you know, you do tapping, so you're getting the energy through your meridians. So if you're going through something, and they really shift the energy, like right after it's the 8-minute session, I'm like, oh, you know, and I could go on with my day. I mean, that was at a certain point. I don't think early in my process it was helping as much, but now that I'm seeing the light again, it's just helping me move forward. And so EFT is great. If, you know, if you're going through something, you can find these free videos. So definitely get your body processing too, because it just gets locked in there. So you want to make sure you're doing some body work if you're going through anything. Definitely good point.
I'm so glad you came on this morning, Sandy. Talk about a treasure trove of information. And I love these. I just absolutely love the Saturday morning mastermind, because I think they're so real, and the people are so real, and the things we talk about are so real and so helpful. And I could just go on and on about lots of what you said and you shared. I just want to mention that I appreciate you coming up with, you know, just search EFT sadness, for example, because I've always gone on and, you know, then you sit through the sessions and you go through all kinds of stuff that doesn't apply to you and doesn't have anything to do with what's going on. And, you know, what a great idea to just, you know, flea bites. If they have anything for that. But I just want to thank you for all that you've shared this morning. And before I forget and get too far away, I want to thank Marjorie for what she shared. I don't think I've ever exposed myself to anything in life that I can think of. And I read lots of things and I study, and, you know, I mean, I was telling my sister last night about the, you know, 5 ways that people express love. She's a gift giver. She's never had a lot of money, but she always finds something for $1, and it's just a fabulous gift. And I said, you know, I'm lousy at that. And I said, and this, you know, this doesn't work for everybody, but what I like to give is information, which of course is what you were giving this morning, Sandy. And so getting back to Marjorie, she mentioned the first thing out of the gate. She said, you know, life is simple and easy. And I thought, well, that's interesting. I've never gotten that from anything. And I've listened to a couple of different guys today or this week talking about how easy and fast you can put together a book and you can get it out there. And, you know, if people would benefit from what you have to say, you should do that. And I just want to mention to you, Marjorie, I don't know if you've ever thought about a book or a speech or anything like that, but the whole thing that you said about all of this, you know, Lao Tzu, Tao Te Ching, all this kind of stuff, this verse, the lines, you know, everything, you really have something there that you could share. And I know it's just a big deal to me because I've, you know, I'm on the other side of the needle. You know, I'm just, I've just never gotten simple and easy with regards to life about anything. And you said so many things that were wonderful, and just kind of pointed out how you could get that from the information that he shared this morning. So I just wanted to be sure that you knew that someone had seen it that way. Thanks.
Oh, that was really wonderful of you to say, Karen. I think it's because, well, everyone's on a spiritual path, and I also love information, and I love to give that as a gift also to people, because one of the early things that I realized from my searching is that you do need knowledge, and you only get the knowledge by searching, by paying attention and wanting it and looking and seeking. And you will find that eventually, so much out there, books and such. So the knowledge is power, and yet you have to practice. That's the other thing I learned, is that it's ridiculous to go around gathering all this knowledge, which I have been for decades, and then you don't apply it. You don't use it in your life. You don't practice it. You don't actually put it into use to help you manifest in your life. So, and I appreciate your words so much, Karen, because I'm also very much into astrology, and I've done so much over the decades that I almost have to laugh at myself because I've kind of forgotten some of the things that I've done. But I really have put the time and the effort to seek by books and searching online when online was available in the 90s finally, and going to live events with spiritual teachers or people that channeled, and seeking out psychic readings, and having my astrology looked into by different astrology readers and all of that. And so I guess there's a lot in there in me that I want to share, and it's actually part of my life path. So I feel like what you just said is like a message from the universe to go put it together and share it with people in some form, whatever that may turn out to be. And just to say a little more about myself, not to dominate. I had to laugh recently because I've discovered the world of e-currency, which has been an exhilarating ride, and just reawakened in me all this connection back to the mundane world, as I call it, back into like the news of what's going around internationally in countries, and with different countries' banks, and how the people are living in different countries. And yet in my own life, I really haven't put a whole lot of value on so-called money. And in my astrology, I realize I have something that's a little bit, different, because in astrology, when two planets are together very close, that's really significant. It's called a conjunction, when things are together or conjunct. And I have that with Saturn, the planet Saturn, and the planet Neptune. They're like complete opposites. Saturn is very much into law and justice, and it's kind of like the judge, the strict disciplinarian. And then Neptune is like glamour and misty and dreams. And so they kind of cancel out each other, and they're in the second house of money and possessions. And so I've always had this image that I would be one of those people that, didn't have, because Saturn's also a place where it's a difficult part of your astrology chart. You're not going to have that ease there. So I've always looked at it like, well, gee, I'm not really good with money, or money isn't my thing, and I can't hang on to money, and all those thoughts. And then I realized lately that I feel blessed that I have this because I'm not tied to money. I'm not worried about money. I obviously I have to be, because that's just what life requires. But I somehow am able to kind of like go through life having enough to somehow get by. Obviously now wanting to have more because I want to do more for the world. But at the same time, it kind of just eases things. I'm not as anxious or overly wrought up over how much money do I have, things like that. And so this whole e-currency thing it's been kind of an enlightenment for me, that I'm finally acting on wanting to have more money in a more smart and evolved way. So that's been wonderful. But so part of my realizing how that's kind of cool, having this Saturn and Neptune conjunction so close, is they're only 11 minutes apart. And in astrology, that's pretty much like clapping your hands together, being very, very, very close, the 11 minutes measurement. So I feel like that's something that I want to bring to the world. So I appreciate what you just said, Karen, because it's just making me pay attention to, why are we here on Earth? I mean, that's kind of like what we're talking about when we look at these different verses, to to make ourselves be awake about life and our purpose, our lifetime, what we're doing in our lives. And so Sandy, what you've gone through and what you're sharing, it's hard, it's really, really hard. And so I appreciate everyone sharing so much from their heart and their truth, and being authentic and showing their real feelings. So anyway, I'll stop there, but I just wanted to say thank you, Karen, for your words.
You're most welcome, Marjorie. I can't thank you enough for the feedback. Thanks.
Thank you for bringing up astrology, Marjorie. Because I go back and forth with that. Like I love to follow my astrology and what's going on, like the Venus retrograde right now. And also, I guess part of it for me is not letting it be the answer, like it can guide people, but I think if people get too attached to it too, they can get stuck. This week I ordered an astrology report for this year, like month by month, and the different things going on for me personally. And I was like, wow. And it sort of made me sad because, it made sense for what I'm going through. It made complete sense. And like, ooh. But also I saw where it can be limiting if someone were to say, well, this is the plan, and so this is what's going to happen. Because I know that in the past, when my astrology said a certain thing, I was able to manifest something completely opposite because my beliefs were my beliefs. So if someone gets stuck on believing that astrology, that they'll get stuck on this is the way it's going to be and blah, blah, blah. And so they won't try. But I like how you said you were, it helped you evolve your money, the way that you look at money. And I think that's what the astrology can help us is to evolve what we may see in our chart, and not necessarily believe that this means that this is the way it's going to be forever, but to take it to a new evolution and to help us, look at it in a different way. If any of that made sense. So, okay, I'll stop there.
No, that's great. That's great, Sandy. I think of astrology more as a language, like a second language. That it's really it's real. I always like to say that I really don't know anything. Try to be humble, because as much as I feel I have very strong passions about certain things, I also realize that, really, as much as I've searched, I'm not a master in anything. I've kind of forgotten where I've gotten everything. I've read so much and looked around for so much, I can't remember, like, when did I read that? Or so I basically just say, you know what, I'm not a master expert. I don't have answers for anything, but this is what I believe, because somehow it's in me now. I received this from different sources, and so it's just part of me, and it's okay. It's just a way I like to guide myself, and it's not for everybody. And so I agree with you about the astrology, in the sense that I don't want to live my life that narrowly either, because we truly are masters. We have that inner power, and so astrology is just a tool, it's just a resource, just to help. I like tarot too, and I have a lot of other things I like to tap into. But everything has come from within, and yet astrology will help explain what is it. You, what is the rethinking of who you are, and when that will awaken you to the good parts of yourself, and then the not so great parts of yourself that's in your astrology that's really there just for you to work on. So, but basically the whole idea of gathering together today and studying something specific and then using that as a common thing to discuss and share and talk about, and then we go off into these other topics, which is kind of cool. I guess I was also thinking from something that about the classics and the masters who are not living here right now on earth for us to ask questions directly. I mentioned this one person I just found in the last 6 months that I don't really know much about him. I got all excited when I discovered him, and then I haven't really gone back to anything that he's teaching. But his name is Brent Phillips, and he had this long story that was amazing about, doing really well and then being brought down really low because of health reasons that, he couldn't do anything with his former work, all his struggles to find solutions to his health. And then he found some and got way back up in the world as far as making money and being recognized. And I think he was actually recognized as a healer, and then he was brought down low again. It was like horrible things happened to him, like relationships fell apart, his money disappeared again, and he's like, what the heck, why did this happen? I did all this work, over a decade or a long time. It wasn't like it just took him a year or two. And that's where he mentioned the classics and the masters and going back and studying them and looking for answers. And he came away with the fact that, as I shared with you, that he felt like, well, they're not here, and to kind of grasp what they're really trying to teach is difficult. It wasn't easy for him, and I think he really worked hard at studying, taking it really seriously. And then he kind of came away with the whole idea that the reason he went through a second suffering was because of ego, because ego was there. And I was like, wow, I never really thought about that too much, so now when I sometimes see people who you want to admire and they have something to share, and you quite agree with them, but you do see that ego coming out. They're really hyped on themselves, or they think that they're so awesome the way they share it, or I don't know, it's just or they've lost track of where they started from, which was, I guess, something really sincere within themselves. They needed to share it, they needed to teach it. It was humble, it was authentic, they were acting out of their heart. But now mixed in with their message, which is still a good message, is more their own personality or ego. So now I see that more. It's kind of like, at least I got that from Brent Phillips. Let me make sure that I'm not doing this out of the wrong, from the wrong point, from my ego. And so it goes back to the whole idea of nothing comes from me as an individual or as a personality. Everything comes through source and from the divine. And so I think that's where the masters were coming from. They were channeling the real truth and saying it the way from within their own culture at the time, which is why we're looking at this particular verse today going, what the heck? It's long, it's evolved, it's confusing me, it's saying this, it's not very direct. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Was I just want to throw in that little tidbit that popped in my mind a couple minutes ago, the ego, but yeah, it's life is wonderful. Karen, you mentioned something about why am I using the word simple? It's because I've mentioned this a couple of times, so Catherine has heard this. I feel like I'm a born again metaphysician because passions really are metaphysics, spirituality, astrology, numerology. I like to say health, and now I like to say e-currency. And yet I don't really know much about anything. I search so much, but when I really think about it, it's like, gee, I really never studied everything really in depth, each book or whatever. I would rip through the book, not even take notes or anything, just absorb it and then kind of forget about it, misplace the book. And yet I like to use the word that I'm a reborn metaphysician, because despite all the many, many books that I own and all the searching I've done online and things that I've done, I found this book recently about Archangel Metatron, a woman who channels him, talks about how you yourself can be inspired writing to angels, like the archangels, who are there to help all of us, not just people who can channel or do inspired writing. So part of her book is literally writings that she took down as she was channeling through inspired writing, words that he wanted to share, and he made it very, very simple. And it kind of blew me away, because it isn't anything different than what I've already studied and known and supposedly put into practice in my life. But when you see those words, it really comes through that, oh my God, like this is it. Why didn't I get this before? This is sort of embarrassing. And he does say that, that life is God, that God created life, whatever you want to call God. And when you think of that, how huge God really is, or the creator of the universe, divine source, that he's so powerful, so huge, he's so immense, that is abundance. So God, God is abundance. So that is the world that we live in. It's truly, truly abundant and rich, not lacking in any way. And then God also is love. So that's all around us. That's what the abundance really is love, and it's all ours. It's our divine birthright. And that, yes, gratitude is really important, because it draws into us, what we wish for, the good things, the love and the high vibrations, because we're magnetic beings, we're vibrational beings, we're energy beings, we're beings of light. And then it was even more beautiful, because he also pointed out, talking about Archangel Metatron's words to us, the highest energy you can carry around you, inside you, in your life, in your daily world, is happiness and joy. And when you have happiness and joy, you're so powerful. So I try to live simply like that now, that I found this book just a few months ago, and I really didn't even start reading it till just, not that long ago. So that's kind of where I like to think of life is, life is scary at times, and there's anxiety, there's stress, there's worries, there's all the things we know we shouldn't do, right? That we shouldn't think that way at all, and we get mad at ourselves when we do that. And so that perspective of, well, life is really simple. Life is really easy if you just trust and have faith in just the knowledge that life is truly coming from our source, which is abundant. And so everything is really there for us. That's our real world. Then that is really simple. That is really easy. And all we have to do is protect it by just focusing back on the basics of love and gratitude and happiness and joy, and knowing that that's what's real for us, not the other stuff, So anyway, I should stop talking so other people can share. Thanks for listening.
Oh yeah, that's so true. And it sort of goes back to the verse, like living by being here now. And that's something that I, through my processes, was really being in the present moment has become so important to me. And I've realized the shift in me, where in the past I would, I'd plan my days ahead, like the whole week. I have the plan of what I'm doing every day. And now my friends are like, what? Because I'm like, well, I'll decide tomorrow. an hour before, or, like I'll decide, I'll see where I'm at tomorrow, and that's so not like me, because I'm also very impatient. So I like to have things planned out, and I've always been like the planner. So, and people are now like, what? Like you don't have a plan? I'm like, no, I'll see tomorrow, and I'm not going to say yes or no to anything until the moment comes, and I'll see where I'm at. But I love that you brought up ego too, Marjorie, because that was a huge part of this process for me too, is really looking at this ego. This ego wants these certain things in this world, and it can kick you in the ass when you're stuck on this, what the ego wants. Then, this is where, the dream, I had this dream guy, and we had all these dream plans, and I got attached to that, and that's all ego. And so it brought me back to things like the basic teachings. I started looking at the I can't even say it, Bhagavad Gita, teachings from the masters. And it's really the ego is what trips us up a lot of the times, and says, well, you want this? Well, and it goes away, and it destroys people who aren't prepared to have that taken away. And so through my process, which I'm so grateful, I found this woman her name's Katarina Fang. So I was looking for things to help in relationship, like how to deal with when a man pulls away, or this, certain things that were happening in my relationship. And, I kept finding each thing a little too late. Like I had already made the mistake, and then I'm like, okay, I found it. I messed up again. And but she's called the Man Whisperer. Like she has 50 people get engaged per year in her groups, and exes coming back and all this stuff, which is, okay, that's all ego stuff. But part of her program it's called The Journey Inward, and it's about mindfulness, meditation, and ego. And so it's like this, she's transforming my life, like really it's about self-love and getting to the core of yourself and being the goddess. And I think, she teaches about how in our society we're so masculine. Our feminine now is so masculine, because we have to go out and create jobs and get jobs, and we're go, and we're doing. But the feminine is about being, and being receptive and letting things come to you. So, I was seeing all these things after the fact of how I was being very masculine in the relationship too, like I'm chasing and I'm pursuing, and that's the man's job. So it was like her teachings are so profound, because it's all about just being. And that's what feminine is just being. Just be. Lean back. Let them come. Let things come to you. And I saw that in my business when I started being more present and letting my ego drop. People were just coming to my business for acupuncture. I'm like, oh, I didn't have to do anything, and it's so easy. Like when we really go back to those basic teachings, just be. And like you said, Marjorie, like being grateful and being happy, things just come. And it's easy. And we make it so hard. And it's such a gift to be in these feminine bodies and be able to tap into the feminine energy again, and just be, and it all comes. Be feminine and be receptive. That's what feminine is being receptive. We don't have to go do, which I love. I'm a very much love doing, and we can do that. We can do, but at the same time, remembering to let things come to us too. And when we're grateful and we're happy, they just come. Our dreams come to us. The things we want and need come to us. And in our society, it's, we've been so trained we have to go out and get these things, and we have to, go make it happen and all this stuff. But so my mindset has really been shifted over the past couple months of going more into my feminine and letting things come to me. And it's so amazing, because it's a whole shift for me, because I've always been very go get. And I think it's part of my sign too, Sagittarius, the archer. Like we're always looking to the future, like, okay, I'm off to this now. So yeah, thank you for bringing all that up, Marjorie, about the masters and the teachers and all that, because that's the core. And all these things, you know, really looking at what our egos too, because if we get too attached to our egos, we'll get a good kick in the ass at some point.
I know we're past time, but wow, I got my dollar's worth or $1 million worth just right there in those 3 words: be, receive, and there was another one that'll come to my mind and help me. Thank you, Sandy.
Happy 11/11.
Yeah.
Be, receive, we.
Yes, the 11/11 means the angels are giving us a sign that we're okay, that we're on track, that they're there for us. I mean, it's wonderful. Thank you for pointing that out, Sandy. Maybe we should always end on 11/11.
Well, it is way past the hour, so we're going to go ahead and if anybody has a final word that they want to say, come on out. And
No, this has been great. I'm glad I joined for my second opportunity to be here. This has been wonderful, and I got a tremendous amount from it all, also from all of you.
any final words, Karen or Sandy?
Oh, those were my final words. I'm just always glad to be here. Love this group. Everyone ought to join us.
Of course they should. I have to bring out another classic, another tool that I found extremely helpful, especially during breakup situations, and that is Byron Katie. And asking, you know, especially when we're beating ourselves up over things, you know, just asking ourselves, is it true? And it never is, so we can just stop all the bullshit. And, you know, I love Byron Katie because she just cuts it right there. Is it true? Oh, if I'd only done this and I hadn't done this, is it true? No. You know, but we do it, our mind, you know. Thank God for, you know, Zooms and being able to gather with friends and share tools. That's the thing that I love about this group, is that we are real. We are a excuse me, a motivational mastermind, whatever you want to call it, but we keep it very real, like a lot of masterminds. You couldn't share what was shared here today. And I believe that sharing from the heart like this is what really helps people. You can have all the rah-rah you want over on the shelf, but when the shit hits the fan, you know, you got to know what to do. And I think we share real tools for things like that, for life. And we let people know that, you know, we're far from perfect. You know, we're just people trying to manage this thing called being human, and we're learning each and every day from each other. And I'm just very grateful for you ladies to be here today. It was all perfect. And next week we will be on verse 65, and hopefully I'll get a chance to read it before that day. But be sure to join our Mindset Mastery Collective Facebook page and get, you know, come on here if you can with us. We're here live every week, or almost every week. And today almost got canceled, and I have to say I'm so very, very grateful that it didn't, because it was absolutely perfect, as it always is. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next week. Love you guys.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you all.
Thank you.